and he was asked about Sirianni's job security, and he didn't just immediately come out and say that he was safe, right? Like, I think that that's something that we probably all want our bosses to say.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like they're safe, they're not on the hot.
Anyway, what's up, YouTube? Flash Speaks, another video, man. Philadelphia Eagles. WIP. I told you I've been getting away from it, but since I've been back working and really there isn't much else to listen to on the radio, I've been tuning in the last couple of days, and man, these people, man, I think WIP is just like, it's almost like trash right now. Right now, the big topic is Jalen Hurts now. Nick Sirianni kind of is, but it's more so Jalen Hurts now. And I'm convinced that the reality of the situation is that most of these these talking heads on this radio station in this particular city don't feel like Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. At the end of the day, they don't. And they feel like he will never really be good enough. No matter what he does, he won't be good enough. And that's cool. But what I need for these people to do, and for us fans to do, is make sure that their feet is held to the fire, and that they keep this same energy when and if Jalen Hurts bounces back and the team is just doing wonderful things. I want them to not give him credit for any of it. Not saying he's a good player, not a great player or anything. Keep saying, that, he doesn't know the basics. And let me give you the reasons for it here, right? Just so you know I'm not talking out of the side of my neck or out of my rear end. All right? Yesterday I'm listening. All right? And you got this guy, Elliot Shore-Parks, who is literally the reason I stopped listening as much as I used to. The fact that they give this guy all of this airtime. They bring him on. You have guys like Ike Reese and the other guy he's with, bringing him on like he's some damn expert of football. Of all the people that they can bring on to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles, they bring it on this damn Elliot Shore-Parks. And it's disappointing if it's because Philadelphia fans are listening in. If so, then we need to start rethinking how knowledgeable this fan base is. I'm always hearing, Philadelphia has this knowledgeable fan base. They know football. And honestly, if you believe Elliot Shore-Parks is a knowledgeable talking head speaking about football, you don't know football. I'm sorry. All right? You get your card revoked. This dude yesterday said one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. He says that he does not see a situation in 2025 that if the Philadelphia Eagles don't have a successful season this year, he don't see a situation where Nick Sirianni is fired and Jalen Hurts is here and Jeffrey Lurie brings in another guy to coach Jalen Hurts. He believes like they're just together as a duo and they'd be going, together. And let me tell you why he thinks that. Because I know him. You're just listening to this guy over the years. I could surmise. Elliot Shore-Parks has a belief about the game of football that is flawed. All right, it's flawed in two ways. Number one, he believes that it's just he has this belief that it's just this offensive league, okay, and that it's all about how great your offense is, and that defense is not that important. The reason this is flawed is if you, and what they do is he'll piecemeal, he'll pick here and there, out of different places. In order to try to support that. When in reality, when we look at last year, Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, we would have to surmise that of the units that were there, the two best units that were on there were the 49ers defense and the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Not the offenses, though the 49ers have, a reasonably good offense. They don't have like an outstanding gunslinger at quarterback or anything like that, but they're reasonably good offense. But it's their defense that you think of first when you think of the San Francisco 49ers. And then the Chiefs, we know about Patrick Mahomes, but the offense is not like a great offense. But their defense was a top 5 defense. All right, and we would argue that that was very much a defensive Super Bowl. And these were defensive teams. Baltimore was another defensive team. And then on the other side, all the Final Four teams were great defensive teams that you saw. All right? But he'll ignore that this year, and he'll go to some other years, some other obscure years, and try to find. And there really is no sufficient evidence for this. Okay? When you look at when you look about the Patriots, which was the last dynasty that we saw, you got to look at the fact that their coach was a defensive coach. So you had Tom Brady, but you had a defensive coach, right? So if anything, if you're being fair, the thing that we were surmised that if you have a great quarterback and a great defense, you can win. Okay? You can win consistently. We're not talking about win here and there. Anybody can win here and there and get lucky. But by and large, teams with great offenses and not bad defenses don't typically have dynasties. Typically that's not how that works. Either you're a balanced team or you're a great defensive team, right? If that wasn't true, then the greatest show on turf would have won more than one Super Bowl, okay? Even the Baltimore Ravens have more Super Bowls than the greatest show on turf, okay? Kurt Warner has 1 Super Bowl. Ray Lewis has 2, all right? Just as many as Peyton Manning. At any rate, he says that and the reason he believes that is because he does not know how to critique the game of football other than to just look at a quarterback. What he got on and what got him famous was constantly ragging on Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz was here. Actually, during years when Carson Wentz was relatively good, like 2019, for example, he was ragging on Carson Wentz. Then, right? This guy is so horrible. He didn't care nothing about, and this is the thing. This is why he's an idiot. He didn't care nothing about Alshon Jeffrey being hurt. He didn't care nothing about Deshaun Jackson being hurt. He didn't care nothing about Zach Ertz being hurt. He didn't care anything about 13 different starters in the offensive line. The only thing this man knows how to critique when it comes to the game of football is the performance of the quarterback, and he does not care about any of the circumstances surrounding the quarterback. He don't care about play calling, the coaches, or anything. He just believes that a quarterback is supposed to weather whatever storm, and if he's great, he's going to be great regardless. That's just what he thinks. Or at least that's the way he acts. Okay? So, of course, there's no surprise that when we talk about Jalen Hurts, he's not going to care anything about, Brian Johnson, bad play calling, the fact that the offense gets stale, the fact that the NFL kind of like it's a copycat league, that you started out against Bill Belichick, who kind of showed how to slow the offensive down, and then you had guys like Brian Flores, who pretty much mimicked that, okay? He doesn't care about the fact that guys like Bosa actually came out and said, here's a blueprint, and there's a blueprint there, and then after that, the Eagles just really struggled. And the reason is they have a gimmicky offense. They don't have an offense that is a time-tested offense that has been shown to be successful throughout different times, that has the ability to morph into something greater, like a West Coast offense, for example, or the number system offense, for example, or something like with Don Coryell and what Joe Gibbs and them were running. Things that can evolve. Okay, the RPO-based system is really a college-based offense that Jalen Hurts excelled in Oklahoma. We used parts of it in the NFL, was able to work in 2017, primarily because the Eagles did not run it at all year, and then when they got to the playoffs and all of a sudden Nick Foles was running a different system, it was difficult to stop the offense. But at the end of the day, it's the football equivalent of the 76 defense that the Chicago Bears ran in 1985. Okay, it was a defense that was very gimmicky, and it worked for a number of years, especially if you have great personnel. However, it didn't stand the test of time, and eventually it starts getting beat. If someone was to run a 76 right now, it would probably get torn apart because people study film, and then they counter, and then they beat it, and then you have to adjust. That's the way football has been, going way back. I mean, you can go back to Landry, and you can go back to Lombardi, right? When you had Lombardi with his run to daylight, offense, okay, where you know the famous thing, put a seal here and a seal here, running in the alley, right? It's running the daylight offense, and it was Tom Landry who actually figured out how to stop it with the invention of the 4-3 defense. Just not to go on, but this is the way football works, and this is how it always has evolved. Okay, so the Philadelphia Eagles last season experienced that. The NFL caught up, as they say. Okay, but a guy like Elliot Parks, he don't care nothing about that. He's not going to bring that up or anything. He just thinks Jalen Hurts is supposed to magically just figure it all out and get it here. Okay, all right. So he don't think Jalen Hurts is that good. Joe DeCamara, the guy that's on right now,
and I insist on this.
This guy, he believes Jalen Hurts. He just needs to work on his basics, his fundamentals. He ain't got no pocket presence. He ain't got this. He ain't got that. He can't read defenses. All of that. I've heard this guy say all these different things. All right. So that's Joe DeCamara. He just thinks Jalen Hurts ain't that damn good. Period. Right. That's the bottom line. He said it before back when the team, with the first year when Jalen Hurts went to the playoffs. He said Jalen Hurts ain't that good. He said it back when he was a rookie. Okay, so this is the mentality. This is the type of intellect you're dealing with, right? They'll judge a guy off for 4 freaking games of football and come to conclude that the guy's not good. Okay, then they'll turn around and be all on a meat, right? The next year when they do good, but because then when his quarterback inevitably runs into struggle, as all quarterbacks do, what happens is they'll revert to their original opinion, which is he's not that good. So now this is where we are right now. Even though Jalen Hurts did not have a terrible year last year at all. I don't care about the interceptions. He didn't have a terrible year. Those interceptions came as a result of a stale offense and the guy trying to do what you want. Fight through it. Try to figure it out. Okay? And I know it was a stale offense because I could listen to what different players have said around the league, number one. And then number two, I watch film. Like, this is the thing these guys don't understand. Right now, you're going to be exposed because we are in 2024. This is no longer 1994. All 22 camera footage is now accessible to everybody. All you got to do is pay your television provider for it, and you can receive all 22 coverage for every NFL game. Right? Guys like us, we're getting that, and we're analyzing these Eagles games, and we're analyzing every play. So we get an idea of what's going on, right? If you're going to get up here and have this job on WIP and get up there and speak without knowledge of the all 22 footage or really looking and analyzing what's going on, people are going to see you don't know what you're talking about. That's why I'm where I am. I know these dudes don't know what they're talking about. And some of the ones who play football, who can actually break down film better than I ever dream of, they too lazy to put the time in and do that type of research. They're relying on just their talent and skills to get up there and run their mouth. And because of that, they ended up being exposed. Like, I'd rather go to some of the guys on YouTube. My man with the top billing website. I'd rather go to my man who does the QB school. I'd rather go to the other guy who does. There's a couple of them. They'll get more attention from real football people, real football fans, than WIP will get. Even with Ike Reese, even though he played. And then now Ike Reese, this is my man. Normally I like Ike Reese, man. Generally I do, but Ike Reese, yesterday his take is Jalen Hurts is a bad leader. He's a bad leader. Why? Because he ain't out there getting all hype and being rah-rah when the team is losing. Right? That's his thing now. He says that a guy being stoic, not saying nothing or focusing on what he has to do that won't work for him. I'm sure it wouldn't work for Ike Reese. Because Ike Reese, he's a backup player. Backup players probably need other guys to motivate them. They're not self-motivated like a Brian Dawkins, right? Or somebody like that is probably great. Great players are just probably more self-motivated. Sure, Brian Dawkins ain't need Donovan McNabb to get him going because he can get himself going, and he had to get guys like Ike Reese going. So I get it. Right? You need a leader to get you going. You need somebody to follow. Cool. And I ain't ragging on him like he's a better athlete than I'll ever be, but he basically told on himself. That's what it is. So, but the reality is Jalen Hurts is a good leader, right? What gets me about these guys is They go from he's the best young leader in the NFL the year we went to the Super Bowl. He's the best young leader in the NFL. You know, we saw all this footage of Jalen Hurts. You know, we pregame warm up, got the team around him, and let's do this, do that. You know, hey, we're going to do this, blah blah blah, all of that. We had locker room footage of Jalen Hurts in the locker room, and hey, you know, we're gonna do this, blah 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 blah. We got him giving a talk about how bad he wanted. All of that stuff you see everywhere. You go out there and you have a tough stretch, and during the season, and now all of a sudden he's just this bad leader. He's horrible. You don't know what he's doing. You know all this kind of stuff. And this is the content we get right now. Y'all dudes change with the win. 1 minute it's like this, 1 minute like that. So your opinion of the quarterback is this, unless he's a privileged class. Privileged class, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's to be about 6'4" to 6'5" in height, just to have a certain arm length, to be high draft pick. It's not as much as it used to be, but preferably Caucasian, right? That it is. I'm serious. There's still some lingering idea that like white quarterbacks are just inherently better at grasping the football concepts and reading the plays and making quicker decisions. There's still some lingering feelings of that. People don't say it that much, but there are people who kind of think that, right? And it's not just white people who think it. There are black people who think that as well. I've had conversations with them. Some of them, they just think that for whatever reason, you know, and I get it. It's because of the great quarterbacks we've had over the past have been like the Tom Brady's and the you know, some people love Kurt Warner and Joe Montana's and Peyton Manning's and so on. These guys just happen to have been white guys. So people just think maybe that's what it is. Maybe maybe God made them smarter, whereas he made the black guys more athletic. I don't know. People believe a lot of stuff, you know. I don't buy into it. I think you put the time in and study, you'll figure it out. That's what I believe is about, putting the time in and study, you know. Because the truth is, Justin Herbert's not good at reading defenses either, right? But a lot of people don't know that because he's able to cover it up with his arm, but he's not good at it, right? But for some reason, it's the Kyler Murray can't read defense, Jalen Hurts can't read defense, freaking Michael Vick couldn't read defense. Like, it's always just, you know, Cam Newton can. It's always, you know, a certain type of guy that can't read the defenses, you know. But at any rate, man, that's just what I'm talking about. So I just want these dudes to keep the same energy when Jalen Hurts go out there and destroy the leagues. I believe he's gonna win MVP this year. Like, it's no way you surrounded them with too much talent for that not to happen. Okay? So let me go ahead, man, get to work. Peace out.